Hi, everyone. My name is Gianluca Liva. I'm an Italian science journalist, and I'm here today together with my mighty colleague, Catharina Felke, to present the Forever Pollution project. It's a project that involves and still involves 12 countries and several newsrooms across Europe. First of all, you can find every output of our investigation on the dedicated website foreverpollution.eu. You can find there every in-depth article, every inquiry, every investigation. It's there. So, let's start. Our project was about, keep it in mind, the poly and perfluoroalkylic substances, commonly named PFAS. Okay? They are man-made chemicals used since the 40s and the 50s. They was discovered totally randomly, okay? And they've got unique characteristics that made them so useful in our everyday life. And we use them to produce materials and compounds that are everywhere. Everything is non-sticky, everything is waterproof, like your Gore-Tex dresses, like your Teflon pens. They are literally everywhere. Their characteristics, as I was saying, are unique, but they also got some, bad issues in several fields. They are totally persistent, and that's why they are called the forever chemicals. They are ubiquitous. They can spread in the environment very, very fast, in water, in soil, in the air, and they can lead to numerous health effects. The most common are cancers, immunodeficiency, and obesity. They are so-called endocrine disruptors. If you want, after this panel, I can explain you how do they act in our body. And they've got a health cost, as you can see from the slide. And they are even in my blood, in her blood, and in your blood now. Why I said that they are persistent? I can show you here. These are the blood analysis of a former employer in a producing facility in Italy. He stopped working into the chemical plant in May 2010, and he's got a level of 19.311 parts per million. Translated in nanograms per milliliter, you have to skip the mathematical comma, okay, to the end of the cipher, like translated and in nanograms per milliliter is 19,311. After 11 years, stopping working there, his blood levels of PFOA, their perfluorooctanic acid, are still 3,440 nanograms per milliliter. The tolerance range for our body, for our blood, is between 0 and 8 nanograms per milliliter. We started the investigation considering what we supposed were the only production plants across Europe. And we decided to verify it. Things escalated so quickly, really quickly, and we started producing the first ever map of PFAS pollution thanks to some parameters that we set, thanks to the lead scientist dealing with the PFAS topic. They helped us in setting up the standard to build this map. The map shows every spot of known contamination across Europe. We gained this data thanks to scientific studies and especially the environmental agencies across Europe who did and still are doing samplings in various metrics like water, surface water, groundwater, soil. To set up the methodology for the map, we had to understand what a PFAS is. and what PFAS are. They are an enormous family of chemicals. PFAS are part of the huge family of fluorinated substances, and they can be divided according to the nowadays definition of what a PFAS is in several subgroups, sub-subgroups, sub-sub-sub-sub-subgroups of chemical substances till reaching the single substance, like PFOA, PFOS, PFOSK, PFNA, and so on. And just to be clear, they are millions of substances. You have seen a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of the entire PFAS family. And still nowadays, it's not clear what a PFAS actually is. The definition is changing year after year. This is the parameter we used to build our map. As you can see, we choose the 6 main PFAS, and we define what a contamination actually is. We set it on 10 nanograms per liter. And we found all the producers across Europe. So our list changed during the investigation. As you can see, they are based in several European countries. And at the end, we find 17,000 known contamination sites, the one gained thanks to the samplings and scientific studies. And they are, they can be merged in 2,100 hotspot clusters, the biggest circles that you see. We found a new category, the users category, so factories that purchased pure PFAS from the pure producer, and they used PFAS to build materials or stuff, again, like your non-sticky pens, like ski waxes, like firefighting foams. Okay? And the real output of our map is another. And my colleague, Catharina, it makes you laugh, really. Will explain what is the main output of our project.
Yeah, it makes me laugh because I don't think it's like the real output, because we had like various layers of data for this map. So I think we had like 2 main layers. So one is the one that Gianluca already talked about, which are like the known contamination sites. And then we also have this layer of presumptive contamination sites. So what do I mean by that? You can basically say we have no high quality testing data for all these spots that we put on the map, but nonetheless you see them here. So there must be a reason why we put them here. And I want to talk a little bit about our approach. So luckily for us, there was already a team of researchers in the US who had worked on determining whether there are any presumptive contamination sites in the US, which means are there like any industrial activities that we can link to cause PFAS contamination. You can also see in the byline, some of those researchers became part of like the peer group of reviewers we were working with. So we were in, and I think I can say this, like in constant exchange with this group of scientists to make sure we are actually doing like what we're supposed to do, we adhere to scientific standards and so on. So we looked to this map and adapted it to our European map. And so we basically have like 3 main categories of presumptive contamination sites. So the first category are fluorinated aqueous film-forming foams, sites where these firefighting foams have been used. You can think of these firefighting foams as like, let's say, the Wonder Woman of firefighting foams. Like if a refinery is on fire, you can extinguish that fire with these kind of foams. And you can see we have hundreds of military sites in there. Again, there wasn't like a comprehensive data set for Europe. So we identified and geolocated all these sites one by one. Both of us did that. It was a pain in the ass. I think we can be very frank about this.
Yeah, it was.
It takes lots of time. Then there are almost like 1,000 airports. Luckily for us, we stumbled upon a group of like, let's call them aviation lovers, who had already compiled a list of like all the airports across Europe. So we were able to use them. And then we did actually get a bit of data from some Scandinavian countries and a region in Belgium, that's Flanders, about firefighting training sites and firefighting incidents. The second category are basically waste treatment sites. So if PFAS is this mobile, I think it totally makes sense that it's gonna end up in wastewater treatment plants, but also think of like landfills. We actually got these data sets from the European Chemicals Agency, so that was like super helpful. And the first category are industrial sites. And well, that turned out to be a real headache. Another pain in the ass. But I feel like we had to deal with so many at this point, so no one cared. So again, we looked to the US map, because they were able to identify all the industrial sites across the United States that are linked to PFAS contamination. Because in the US, you have this like classification system of industrial activities, and it also contains geolocation data. So you can put it on a map, and they ended up with almost like 50,000 industrial sites on their map. If we look to Europe, there isn't any geolocation data. So we had to come up with a workaround. So what we did is actually we took the industrial activities from the US classification system, and you can see this on the left side in blue, and matched it with its European equivalents, because of course the classification system is different in Europe. So you can see this on the right side in green. And so we had like at least one list with, I think, around 40 industrial activities. And then we reached out to the European Chemicals Agency again, because they have a register of pollution appearing across Europe. And in this register, you have industrial activities linked with geolocation data. So in the end, we were able to take these two lists, match them, and identify almost 3,000 industrial sites across Europe that are very likely to cause PFAS contamination. So the most popular one are paper mills, but then of course you have facilities treating plastic, metal, and so on. Okay, this is like a crazy format, but we want to make sure you're still listening. So what I just want to emphasize is all the different sources we used to actually create this data set. So you can do this in your investigations as well, like reach out to authorities, look into scientific papers, into corporate material, like think of annual reports or like product portfolios, talk to the trade associations and their member companies. Like there's this huge European Chemical Industry Council for like all like the chemical companies in Europe. So we reached out to them to get more data on the companies, for instance. We relied heavily on Google Maps, mainly for geolocation issues. And we also filed lots of freedom of information requests, both on like the various national levels, but also on the EU level. And this can lead to replies like that. So as you can see here, it says, the only European producer of C6 has a location which is in Germany, in the southern part of Germany, in Bavaria. And with this information, we were actually able to geolocate the facility in Germany, which then ended up in the list of like 20 PFAS producers that Gianluca had already shown you. So this is it. This is like, I'd like to call it the data sets of all data sets, at least for us. And I really just want to show this to you to emphasize that even if there's no data at the beginning, think about creating it yourselves. Like maybe that's the story. And you're gonna end up with a data set for the very first time that actually like tells a different story and reveals something. At least that was the case for us. So the last thing I want to briefly talk about is working in international teams, which is great. And I think both of us can agree that we wouldn't have been able to do this on our own. Like, you need lots of people with like diverse skill sets to tackle a global issue like that. But, well, this also comes with its own challenges. Like, we all speak like different languages. We have different legal frameworks. And I'd really say consider these different legal frameworks in advance, because it takes lots of time. Like, for example, in Germany, we have a press law that requires you to send out a request for comment to every company you want to put on the map. So in our case, that meant that we had to send out 1,000 requests for comment. And we did it, of course, we had to, but it led to little sleep, lots of overworking hours, because we hadn't thought of it in advance. And of course, I mean, and I feel like every one of you knows this, as you're approaching the deadline, time is just like running out, and you really you're struggling to get everything done in time. So those three aspects at the end seem super simple, like time, clear communication, and coordination. But I think any issue we've run into during this project, but also like in my personal experience from doing other projects, is either related to one or all of these. So really be sure to have some sort of like common understanding what you can do, what you can't do. Make sure you have someone coordinating the whole effort. It really helps you in the end. And I just want to show you like all the partners it took to make this happen. And we also had a Greek partner. I'm not sure if she's here. Yes, I see her.
You are.
Because giving you an international view of this project is great, but since we're in Greece, and I think we have mainly journalists from Greece in the audience, I wanted to, do you want to come on stage? Give you the floor, so we can talk a bit about the Greek part of our investigation.
Okay, hello. I'm Eurydice Bersi from Reporters United. Reporters United was the Greek partner in this investigation. It was fascinating, although we came at the very late stage. It was really interesting to dive into the subject because it was totally unknown here. Unfortunately, it remains sort of even after all the work we did, but let's say we tried. The thing I would like to stress about this country here, unfortunately, we're at a very bad spot when it comes to availability of environmental information. So this means there was practically no public information about PFAS. There was very little in some scientific papers when it came to waste dumps and wastewater treatment plants. Otherwise, the studies that had been done in Greece were non-existent or under lock and key. So we have a river, it's called Asopos. It's the river where most industrial waste in the country ends up in, because there's a major industrial area all around it. There has been a study on PFAS contents of this river. It was paid for by public money, by the Attica regional authority, so public money, and a public university, Athens University, with the lab of analytical chemistry, a very, very well-equipped lab, wonderful scientists, did a great job identifying PFAS pollution in this river, and other sorts of pollution as well, actually. And this study was not public. So I don't know if you think it's okay. I thought it was really not okay. And so we finally found it and published it on our website, on Reporters United website. And that was the Greek contribution to that research. And I must tell you that all those implicated, even after we published and we showed horrible things, like the fact that factories would, that the content of PFAS in the water would increase when it rained, which of course doesn't make sense in chemistry. There's dilution, so the normal thing to do would be for the content to be lower when it rains, right? So why would it increase? I think some of us know the answer already. It increases because then, when it rains, industries find the chance to empty all their sludge and their pollution into the river. So very, very interesting and disturbing things were in this study. So even after it was published, we were met with like, why did you do it? Why did you publish it? Where did you find it? So I mean, the culture of secrecy is so entrenched that even if something like this comes out, then you need to answer why you put it out. So yeah, I guess that was the Greek experience from the whole PFAS affair, and we'll probably do some more in the future. Yeah,
I think so. Thanks so much. So we have like, we were trying to keep it like super brief and short because we still wanted to have around, I see, 9 minutes for questions. This is a highly complex topic. So we can, I mean, I feel like both of us are happy to talk about it afterwards or just now if you have any questions. We also have a slide, maybe we can show it later on again, where you have our contact info if you want to reach out. And as Gianluca has already pointed out at the beginning, if you're thinking about doing this work for a specific region of yours, a village or a city you want to look into, please go to the website, take the data, it's open access. We're always happy if people work with it. Let us know if we can be of any help. So this is really like, I feel like our understanding is really like, this is a project for everyone. And if there are any questions, yeah, we're happy to take them.
Hi, I'm Angelica from La Nación in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I want to ask 2 questions. One, first, congratulations for the work. It's excellent, all the
Thank
effort.
You.
Thank you.
First, of course, if you plan to expand, I think you are not planning to expand to other continents, but it's interesting to do something. But the other one is that if you see the opportunity to keep this updated, or to keep this updated and, for example, produce some alerts or side products that relate to this, updating this information, or this is like one shot and still project.
Thank you. I will take the first question. Okay. I wrote an article about the so-called state of science around the world. And in the whole Latin America, there are 2 laboratories able to analyze and detect PFAS in soil, groundwater, drinking water, and so on. There is a peculiar department at the University of São Paulo, Brazil, that is dealing with PFAS. Anyway, there is still a huge lack of data in the whole continent. But it's the same all around the world. For example, I was in contact with a Ugandese researcher who is the only one in the entire Africa who is doing something about PFAS. And nowadays, for the whole Africa, there are 4 studies. We have to put a huge effort, but consider that, how can I say, we are at the beginning of something new. Someone is doing a sort of comparison with asbestos, when for the first time we found that it can hurt us, but it's not the same. PFAS are much more complicated, much more ubiquitous. They are spreading in the environment so fast, and we don't know how to deal with them. The consequences for the human health are blurry. It could be that a person gets cancer due to PFAS or due to gasoline exposure. We don't know.
I'm just going to tackle the second question about the map. We're not updating it anymore. We had to stop because it requires we don't have the resources to be like super frank about it. At least, so I can talk about like the German side of this investigation specifically, because I'm with German Public Broadcasting. So since we had to reach out to all the companies due to our media laws, we were able to make any changes prior to publication. And we did also receive, like, a few people reached out after we had already published the map, and I think were pointing us to some things we might have gotten wrong. So we took this into account and we updated it. And it's very clear on the website when the last time was that we were actually able to update it. Unfortunately, we can't do it like on a daily or weekly basis because it just requires too many resources. And although we were like, I don't know, media organizations from 12 countries working on this, everyone has also do different things at the same time, are already like on different investigations and so on. But we're definitely thinking of keeping this project alive in whatever investigations might follow. So this might be the first shot, but there might also be like others which are gonna follow. And I just wanted to give some credit to reporters and journalists in the United States, because they had already been reporting on this like years ago. I feel like I first encountered PFAS in 2016, because there was a story about Rob Billett, who's like this US attorney, who's like, for PFAS nerds like Gianluca and I, he's like a superhero, which is like really great, because like no one can understand it. So there had already been stories, and we were building up on that knowledge and work that other journalists had already done. Yeah.
Hi. I'm just curious. I believe most people know that it's a very difficult situation to start the project from the very, very beginning. I believe that your idea was very innovative, and bravo for that. I really enjoyed seeing the data of this project. I just wanted to know what it was the root, the main idea. Where did you start with this project? What triggered it?
It was 2021, and I was talking with Tim Luimes, one of the founders of the project from Amsterdam, from the Netherlands, sorry, because there was a huge pollution case in Dordrecht, Netherlands, and at the same time there was a huge pollution disaster in Italy, in the Venice area, basically. We started discussing about it, and we realized that it was something new, something that nobody was speaking about it. Okay, despite the fact that in the meanwhile, in the US, our hero Robert Billot, the lawyer, was already fighting and winning against the DuPont Industries. Okay. And I don't know if you ever seen the movie Wastewater with Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo. Okay, yeah. Anyway, PFAS are even in wastewater. And, so we decided to start this brand new project, but things escalate quickly. And after setting up the first core group, we decided in autumn 2022, it was September, okay, to reach out to other colleagues to build a stronger team that lead us to the map. It will be impossible to do this project, the five of us, of the original core team.
Yeah, and in my case, as I've said, I had read like this article by some US journalists in 2016, so I myself had started looking into this for Germany, but never on this scale. So it was really great because I think we had a team of like, of course, like various people, but also with like different experiences, also when it already came to covering PFAS. Like you had people like Gianluca who already had like lots of experiences, and then we also had like team members who might have had less experience than him, but then they were like great coders or like great with graphics or had like a chemical background. So I feel like the diverse backgrounds of like all the people that were like part of our team was really crucial to actually make this happen. Yeah, but we found it by reading stuff. You just read articles and you stumble upon it, and then you ask a question like, okay, if this happens there, might it also happen where I'm living or staying? And then it just kind of like grows from that point onwards.
Yeah.
Oh, so as I heard you said, you started at 2021?
The basic idea was in 2021, but the project started officially in April 2022.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to ask that I believe that you would have faced a lot of difficulties due to COVID. But I don't know. Did you?
No, I won't say so. No, I don't think that COVID was an issue for a project of this kind.
Okay.
I mean, it was an issue to understand at the beginning what a PFAS is. I had to call my former professor of science at the high school, and he was surprised, but yes, that's how it begins. It began.
Thank you.
So unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I have to make a cut here. But of course, if you have any questions, please just come to the stage, meet us. We're happy to share whatever might be useful for you. Thank you so much for coming to the talk.